The Alchemist's golden formula? For centuries, men have sought the Philosopher's stone, that legendary substance capable of transmuting base metals into gold. Yet the true masters of the great work knew a profound secret. The most precious transmutation occurs not in the crucible of flame, but in the crucible of consciousness itself. The real gold was never found in their laboratories, but in the transformation of mind from lead-heavy limitation to the aureate awareness of infinite abundance. The sacred deception. In the shadowed laboratories of medieval Europe, where alchemists labored over their furnaces and retorts, a magnificent deception was perpetrated upon the uninitiated. While common men believed these mystics sought to create physical gold from baser substances, the true adepts were engaged in a far more profound enterprise, the transmutation of human consciousness from poverty to prosperity. Nicolas Flamel, the legendary scrivener of Paris, whose humble bookshop concealed one of the greatest fortunes of the 14th century, understood this principle with crystalline clarity. His neighbors marveled at how a simple manuscript copier could afford to endow hospitals, build churches, and finance charitable works throughout France. They whispered of miraculous transmutations performed in his secret laboratory, never suspecting that the real alchemy occurred within the sacred chambers of his own awareness. The Livre des Figures Hieroglyphiques that Flamel claimed to have discovered was not a manual for metallurgical transformation, but a codex of consciousness expansion. Each symbolic figure represented a stage in the inner work that transmutes the base metal of scarcity thinking into the philosophical gold of abundance awareness. The 7 sacred operations. The alchemical text spoke of 7 distinct operations necessary for the great work. To the profane, these appeared to describe chemical processes. To the initiated, they revealed the precise stages of consciousness transformation that inevitably results in material prosperity. Calcination, the burning away of false beliefs. The first operation required the aspirant to subject their limiting beliefs about money and worth to the fire of truth. Just as the alchemist burned away impurities from crude ore, the seeker had to incinerate every thought that supported scarcity, lack, or unworthiness. Paracelsus, the great physician-alchemist of the 16th century, taught that the dose makes the poison. Applied to consciousness, this meant that even beneficial beliefs became toxic when held in excess. The calcination process burned away not only negative thoughts about wealth, but also excessive attachment to poverty as a spiritual virtue. Dissolution, liquefying rigid mental patterns. In the second operation, the calcined matter was dissolved in philosophical water, the universal solvent that could break down any substance. In consciousness alchemy, this water represented the fluid awareness that dissolves crystallized mental patterns and outdated identity structures. John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I and master of both practical and mystical arts, demonstrated this principle through his ability to navigate between the worlds of scholarship and commerce. His vast library and alchemical laboratory were funded through his understanding that rigid thinking creates financial rigidity, while fluid consciousness allows wealth to flow naturally. Separation, distinguishing truth from illusion. The third stage required careful separation of valuable essence from worthless dross. The consciousness alchemist learned to distinguish between authentic abundance principles and the fool's gold of get-rich-quick schemes, or material obsession without spiritual foundation. Raymond Lully, the 13th century mystic whose alchemical works influenced generations of seekers, taught that this separation was the most crucial stage. He wrote in cipher that the gold that glitters in the mind must be separated from the lead that weighs upon the heart. Only by distinguishing between true wealth consciousness and mere material desire could the seeker proceed to higher operations. Conjunction, the sacred marriage of mind and matter. In the fourth operation, the purified elements were joined in sacred union. For the consciousness alchemist, this represented the marriage between spiritual understanding and practical action, the point where mystical awareness becomes material manifestation. Agrippa von Nettesheim, whose De Occulta Philosophia contained profound wealth creation principles disguised as magical theory, demonstrated this conjunction through his ability to manifest resources for his studies, regardless of political persecution or financial hardship. He understood that abundance results from the perfect marriage between heavenly vision and earthly implementation. Putrefaction, the dark night of transformation. The fifth stage, often called the black work, required the aspirant to endure a period where old consciousness patterns died and new ones had not yet fully emerged. This was the most challenging phase, where faith in abundance principles was tested through apparent lack or financial adversity. Albertus Magnus, teacher of Thomas Aquinas and master of both natural philosophy and Hermetic wisdom, wrote that in putrefaction lies the secret of regeneration. Those who persevered through this dark night of the soul emerged with unshakable certainty in their ability to create wealth through consciousness alignment. Distillation, refining the essence. In the sixth operation, the transformed matter was subjected to repeated distillation, each cycle producing a purer essence. The consciousness alchemists refined their understanding through cycles of application, observation, and adjustment until their wealth-creating ability became as reliable as natural law. Coagulation, the crystallization of gold. The final operation saw the philosophical gold crystallize into stable form. For the consciousness alchemist, this meant the complete integration of abundance awareness into daily life, where prosperity flowed as naturally as breath. The true philosopher's stone. The legendary philosopher's stone, lapis philosophorum, was never a physical substance, but a perfected state of consciousness capable of transmuting any situation into golden opportunity. The alchemical masters encoded this understanding in seemingly chemical formulas that were actually psychological and spiritual prescriptions. Fulcanelli, the mysterious 20th century alchemist whose identity remains unknown, wrote that the stone that is no stone exists within every human being. It is activated not through laboratory procedures, but through the systematic transformation of consciousness according to universal principles. The stone's legendary properties, infinite transmutation, perfect health, and immortal life, describe the natural state of consciousness freed from belief and limitation. Those who achieved this state found that their relationship with the material world transformed completely. Money, opportunities, and resources flowed toward them with the same inevitability that iron filings move toward a magnet. The Hermetic wealth formula. Hidden within the alchemical texts was a precise formula for wealth creation, encoded in the ancient Hermetic axiom, solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. This represented the perpetual cycle of releasing limiting patterns and crystallizing abundance patterns that form the heart of the great work. Solve, dissolving old patterns of scarcity thinking, victim consciousness, and belief in financial struggle. This required recognizing that poverty exists only in the realm of thoughts and feelings, never in the realm of infinite possibility. Coagula, crystallizing new patterns of prosperity consciousness, creative empowerment, and absolute certainty in one's ability to manifest abundance. This involved the systematic cultivation of golden mental habits that inevitably produce golden results. The master alchemists understood that this formula must be applied continuously. Consciousness, like chemical compounds, tends toward entropy without constant refinement. Daily practice of solve et coagula maintained the purity of awareness necessary for consistent wealth manifestation. The secret substances. The alchemical texts spoke of mysterious substances required for the great work. To the uninitiated, these appeared to be exotic chemicals or rare minerals. To the adept, they represented specific states of consciousness, essential for abundance manifestation. Philosophical mercury, the quick, volatile substance that represented the fluid intelligence capable of recognizing and seizing opportunity. Mercury consciousness moved swiftly between different possibilities, always finding the most profitable path forward. Philosophical sulfur, the fiery, fixed principle that represented unwavering faith in abundance. Sulfur consciousness burned away doubt and maintained steady focus on desired outcomes regardless of temporary appearances. Philosophical salt, the crystallizing agent that transformed spiritual understanding into material results. Salt consciousness provided the practical wisdom necessary to ground mystical insights in profitable action. The masterwork required the perfect balance of these three principles. Too much mercury led to scattered energy without results. Too much sulfur created rigid attachment without adaptability. Too much salt produced material focus without spiritual inspiration. The golden dawn of understanding. As the medieval period waned and the Renaissance dawned, certain alchemists began to reveal more openly that their true work concerned consciousness transformation rather than material transmutation. These masters, while maintaining the traditional symbolism, started teaching the practical applications of alchemical principles to wealth creation. Marsilio Ficino, the great Renaissance philosopher and translator of Hermetic texts, established an academy in Florence where students learned to apply alchemical principles to every aspect of life, including financial prosperity. His teachings influenced the merchant princes of Italy, who used alchemical consciousness techniques to build the great banking dynasties of the Renaissance. The laboratory of the mind. The true alchemical laboratory was never a room filled with furnaces and glass vessels, but the sacred space of human consciousness itself. Within this laboratory, the adept performed the great work daily through specific mental and spiritual practices. Morning calcination, beginning each day by burning away any thoughts of limitation or lack that had accumulated during sleep. This involved conscious recognition of abundance as the natural state and deliberate dismissal of scarcity thinking. Noon conjunction, at the height of daily activity, practicing the sacred marriage of spiritual awareness and practical action. Every business decision, financial choice, and commercial interaction became an opportunity to express abundance consciousness. Evening distillation, concluding each day by extracting the essence of wisdom from all experiences, successful or challenging. This practice refined understanding and prepared consciousness for even greater prosperity manifestation. The eternal elixir. The alchemists spoke of an elixir vitae, an elixir of life that granted immortality and perfect health. In the realm of consciousness alchemy, this elixir was the recognition that abundance awareness, once fully integrated, becomes a permanent aspect of being that transcends all temporary circumstances. Those who achieved this realization found that their wealth-creating ability became as natural and effortless as breathing. They no longer needed to work for money, but rather, money worked for them. They had become, in the truest sense, masters of the material realm through mastery of the realm of mind. The modern application. Though we live in an age that has largely forgotten the wisdom of the alchemists, their formulas remain as potent as ever. The consciousness that could transmute base metals into gold in medieval laboratories can transmute base circumstances into golden opportunities in modern life. The smartphone and the crucible operate according to the same fundamental laws of transformation. The principles that allowed Nicolas Flamel to manifest extraordinary wealth from a simple bookshop can enable any contemporary seeker to create abundance through the systematic application of consciousness alchemy. The ultimate revelation? The greatest secret of the alchemical tradition was that the gold they sought to create already existed in infinite abundance within the realm of pure consciousness. The great work was never about forcing transformation upon an unwilling universe, but about removing the obstacles that prevented the natural expression of inherent abundance. Every human being possesses within their consciousness the complete alchemical laboratory necessary for the great work. The furnace is attention, the crucible is imagination, the fire is desire, and the gold is the inevitable result when these forces are properly aligned and directed. The philosopher's stone was never lost because it was never external. It remains eternally available within the consciousness of anyone willing to undertake the great work of transmuting their awareness from the base metal of limitation to the philosophical gold of infinite creative potential. In the end, the alchemists discovered that they themselves were the philosopher's stone, conscious beings capable of transforming any circumstance into golden opportunity through the systematic application of consciousness principles that govern all creation. As above, so below, As within, so without. The Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus.